So in this video we'll discuss about our next chapter, that is plant kingdom. Already we have completed living world, we have completed biological classification. Now we are dealing with plant kingdom. From this chapter we can expect 3 questions. Okay. Coming to some of the common characters of plant kingdom. See here, all the plants are multicellular. Here all the plants are multicellular, made up of more than one cell. All are eukaryotic photosynthetic cells. What is eukaryotes? See, I've already explained while discussing biological classification and also living world. There are 2 types of cells. One is prokaryotic cell, another one is eukaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cells are the cells which have just a DNA freely floating in the surface of cytoplasm. This is genetic material, this is cytoplasm. It is just freely floating in the surface of the cytoplasm. Such genetic material is, such type of arrangement is called as a nucleoid. There is no well-developed nucleus. In eukaryotes, there is a well-developed nucleus. Well-developed nucleus means there is nuclear membrane, there is a nucleolus, there is a nucleoplasm, and within which DNA is present. If nuclear membrane, nucleolus, nucleoplasm, and the genetic material, if all these 3 are present, then it is called as a eukaryotic cell. Always remember triple N. Triple N means nuclear membrane, nucleolus, nucleoplasm. If all these 3 structures are present, then the such type of cell is called as a eukaryotic cell, triple N. Whereas here, no nuclear membrane, no nucleoplasm, no nucleolus, just DNA is freely floating in the surface of cytoplasm. Such arrangement is called as prokaryote. Here they are called as a eukaryote. Here in plants all are eukaryotic, and again they are photosynthetic. They undergo photosynthetic process, okay, to prepare their own food material. Next, cell wall is made up of cellulose. In some it may be made up of cellulose and pectin. Plant body is a thallus. Plant body is thalloid. What do you mean by thalloid? Thallus is a structure where there is no clear differentiation between root, stem, and leaf. See, this is a very big plant where it is having root, stem, and leaf. Whereas in some plants, there is no root, there is no leaf, there is no stem, but still it is existing, but still it can undergo photosynthesis. Such structures are called as thallus. You might have seen an algae which is growing in a wetty area. See, this is its structure. Here there are no roots, there is no stem, no, there is no leaf. Everything is just compressed, dorsoventrally flat and thin paper-like structure. Such structures are called as a thallus, where plant body is not well developed. Okay, in plants, some are highly developed plant body is there in some group. In some group, just there is a thallus is present, hence they are called as thalloid. They have green, red, brown, and other various color producing pigments within their body. They are having 2 stages in their life cycle. One is sporophytic phase and another one is gametophytic phase. See, there are 2 stages in the life cycle of a plant. One is sporophyte and another one is gametophyte. Gametophyte gives rise to sporophyte, sporophyte gives rise to gametophyte. This cycle will be taking place within the plant's life cycle. If plant comes, it will be either gametophyte or it will be sporophyte. If it is sporophyte, within dying it will give rise to gametophyte. If it is born as a gametophyte, within dying it will give rise to sporophyte. This life cycle will be this process will be taking place throughout the year or throughout the lifespan of a plant. Always sporophyte is diploid, you need to remember this, and gametophyte is always haploid. Gametophyte is always having only n number of chromosomes, whereas sporophyte is having 2 sets of chromosomes. So it is called as a diploid phase. This one is called as a haploid phase. What again here one particular cell division takes place, that is meiosis, that I will explain later. Okay. So there is a sporophyte phase and a gametophytic phase. In all the plants we can see two stages in the life cycle. One is sporophyte and another one is gametophyte. Next is classification of plant kingdom. Okay, plant kingdom is divided into 5 divisions, that is algae, bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. See here, algae, they do not produce any embryo. They do not produce any embryo, hence they are grouped separately. Whereas pteridophyte, bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperms, and angiosperms are called as embryophyta. Why? Because they produce embryos. Okay, hence they are called as embryophyta. Algae will not produce any embryos, hence it is in modern classification it is placed separately as algae and embryophyta. Under embryophyta we have bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Okay, next see here. Next one is pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms produce, they have within their body, they have a xylem and a phloem. Xylem as water conducting tissue, phloem as a food conducting tissue. Hence, they are called as a tracheophytes. Pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms, they have what? They have xylem and phloem. Hence, they are called as tracheophytes. The next group is algae, bryophyta and pteridophyta. They are called as cryptogams. Why? Because they do not produce any seeds. They do not produce any seeds, hence they are called as cryptogams. Whereas gymnosperms and angiosperms produce seeds, hence they are called as phanerogams. See here, plant kingdom divided into 5 divisions: algae, bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Upcoming classification or many modern day classifications are again subdivided this divisions into various groups based upon their certain small features. They are algae that do not produce embryo, whereas bryophyte, pteridophyte, gymnosperms, angiosperms produce embryo. Hence there is a differentiation called as embryophyta and algae. And next one is tracheophytes. Tracheophytes are the plants which have xylem and phloem. Hence they are called as pteridophytes. Gymnosperms, angiosperms are grouped under pteridophytes. The next ones are algae and bryophyta and pteridophyta do not produce any seeds, hence they are called as cryptogams, grouped under cryptogams. Gymnosperms and angiosperms produce seeds, hence they are grouped under phanerogams. Next one is division algae. First division, that is algae. Algae, you might have seen whenever the water is there, water is stagnant on which number of green mat like structures float. Such structures are called as algae. So coming to the features of algae, they are commonly called as grass water. Why? Because they live within the water and they give a water a greenish color in appearance. Hence, they are commonly called as grass water. The study of algae is called as phycology or algology. Phycology or algology. Here, the thallus is photosynthetic. The main plant body is photosynthetic, thalloid and aquatic organisms. They are almost aquatic and they are photosynthetic, and their body is not very well developed. Hence, it is called as thalloid. Already explained this point. What is thallus? It is a dorso-ventrally flattened structure. Dorso-ventrally flattened structure where there is no clear differentiation between root, stem and leaves. Hence, they are called as thallus. Here in algae we can find thallus. The size of the thallus ranges from microscopic unicellular to colonial to filamentous. Some are microscopic, some are macroscopic. Algae are also there. Whereas coming to the microscopic, there are number of unicellular algae are there, where they are unicellular but they are living in a close association like volvox. Next one is their cell wall is made up of cellulose. Since they contain various pigments, chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, carotene and xanthophyll, they undergo photosynthesis process. Okay, see here, this is chloroplast. Within the chloroplast we can find number of chlorophyll containing cells or chloroplast. Okay, these are chloroplast. And this one is cell wall made up of cellulose. Cell wall containing cellulose. So this is thallus, exact thallus. Next, starch is the main reserve food material. The food is stored in the form of starch and in other form also. We will discuss it later. Next, reproduction takes place by vegetative. That one is fragmentation. Vegetative reproduction is a type of reproduction where the new organism is produced from the single parent body itself. See here, this is one algae, that is Spirogera. It has broken down and it gives rise to a number of small parts, small pieces. Each piece has grown into a new complete organism. This one is called as fragmentation. It comes under vegetative propagation. Next one is asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is again a type of reproduction where the new organism is produced from only a single parent. New organism is produced from single parent. Hence, here asexual reproduction takes place by production of spores, that is zoospores and aplanospores. See here, this one is called as zoospore, this one is called as aplanospore. Zoospores are the spores which have a flagella which can move from one place to another place. Hence, such type of spores are called as zoospores. Some spores do not have flagella, they are called as aplanospores. Okay, so then sexual reproduction takes place by three types, that is isogamy, anisogamy, and oogamy. Isogamy is the fusion between the same type of gametes. Structurally, they are same, hence they are called as iso. Iso means same, gamy is fusion. Anisogamy is fusion between two dissimilar type of gametes. One is large, one is small. Whereas oogamy is always female gamete is larger and it is non-motile. Male gamete is small and it is always motile. Hence, sexual reproduction is isogamous, anisogamous, and oogamous. Last important point is homothallic or heterothallic. See here, what happens is some algae are homothallic and some algae are heterothallic. Homothallic means within the same thallus, within the same thallus. See here, this is a thallus, dorsoventral flattened structure. Within the same thallus, there is male reproductive structure and there is female reproductive structure. There is male reproductive structure and female reproductive structure. Male gamete is also coming from the same plant body. Female gamete is also coming from the same plant body. Hence, it is called as a homothallic. Heterothallic means, see here, this is a thallus, and within this thallus, male reproductive structure is also there, and here is another thallus. Here, female reproductive structure is there. Male reproductive structure is in one thallus, female reproductive structure is in one thallus. Such condition is called as a heterothallic. So some algae may be homothallic, some algae may be heterothallic. Next, classes of algae. Algae is again subdivided into three classes: chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae, and rhodophyceae. This is based upon the pigment which is present within the algae. Okay, the first one is chlorophyceae. Chlorophyceae are the green algae. They are commonly called as green algae. Why? Because they have a chlorophyll pigment. Chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, along with this xanthophyll and carotenoids are present. Their cell wall is made up of cellulose and pectin. Externally, it is made up of cellulose. Internally, it is made up of pectin. Externally it is made up of pectin, internally it is made up of cellulose. Next, there are a number of photosynthetic pigments: chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, xanthophyll, and carotene. And there is within the chloroplast, there is one more structure called as a pyrenoid, within which actual photosynthetic process takes place. If this is the chloroplast, within the chloroplast there is a structure called as pyrenoid, where actually the photosynthetic process is taking place. Always pyrenoid is associated with the chloroplast. Hence, this is one of the distinguishing feature of chlorophyceae members. Next, food is stored in the form of starch. They are having flagella. See here, all these are some of the chlorophyceae members which are green in color. Okay, see here, this is chlamydomonas, this is volvox, this is bit macroscopic algae where we can find differentiation. The thallus has been improved and we can find a stem-like structure, leaves-like structure, and root-like structures. This one is called as chara. Next one is phaeophyceae. Phaeophyceae is also called as brown algae. So here the main plant body is brown in color, hence they are called as brown algae. Why they are brown? They are brown because they are having brown pigment within their body. That is basically fucoxanthin. Fucoxanthin is a pigment which gives brown color appearance to the thallus. Here the thallus is bit developed, and though it is thallus only, it is standing erect, attaching to the solid substratum. It stands erect, whereas here this will not stand erect, they just float on the water. Whereas here in phaeophyceae, they stand erect. Why they stand erect is because for attachment there is a structure called as holdfast, and there is a stem-like structure called as stipe, and there is a leaf-like structures are called as fronds. Leaf-like structures are called as frond. Stem-like structure is called as stipe, which helps in standing erectly. And next one is for attachment, there is holdfast. Okay, hence the thallus comes out or stands erect. Next, they store food material in the form of laminarian starch. Next one is rhodophyceae, or they are also called as red algae, due to the presence of a pigment phycoerythrin. They have a pigment, see here, they are looking red. Why? Because they have a pigment called as a phycoerythrin. Their cell wall is made up of cellulose and pectin. They are completely marine. These are marine and these are marine. Brown algae are also marine. Rhodophyceae are also marine, whereas chlorophyceae maximum are fresh water. They live in fresh water. They can find in fresh water. Okay, and here the food is stored in the form of flourine starch. Coming to the economic importance, first one is algae as a food. Okay, many algae are taken as food, and within that, the very best important one is chlorella. This is a green algae which is rich in proteins and rich in vitamin E and D. Hence, it is taken as food. There is a laminaria. Laminaria is nothing but a brown algae, which is also taken as food in Japan, and is porphyra and chondrus. These are red algae, which are also taken as food. Next one is from the chlorella, algae chlorella, there is an antibiotic which is extracted chlorellin, which is used in the treatment of many disease caused by the bacteria. It acts as antibiotic. Okay, many brown algae are rich in iodine, hence they are used in the treatment of thyroid related problems. Next, gelidium, it is used in the treatment of stomach disorders. Next, even in the sewage treatment also, the algae are used, especially chlorella and chlamydomonas. Why they are used? Because sewage, it is rich in organic waste. This organic waste need to be decomposed. For decomposition, oxygen is required. Oxygen is required means within this place, if chlamydomonas or any chlorophyll members are added, they undergo photosynthesis process. When they develop or when they start to undergo photosynthesis, they release oxygen. When the oxygen is released, then decomposition process takes place easily. Hence, sewage treatment also, this algae are used. Next one is algae in space research. In the space research, when they go into the space, within the spacecraft they will be carrying algae. Why? Because they will undergo photosynthesis, they release oxygen. Once they release oxygen, so that environment where they live will be rich of oxygen, hence they are also used as space research, used in space research for the release of oxygen. Next, in industries, agar agar, it is prepared from Gracilaria and Gelidium, which is extracted from red algae. This is about kingdom algae. Okay. The one thing main important you need to focus here is what is thallus. Thallus is dorsoventrally flattened structure where is no clear differentiation between root, stem and leaf. See here, this is the normal plant body which is having root, stem and leaf. This is root, this is stem, this is leaf. Whereas here there is no root, stem and leaf in algae, but still they undergo photosynthesis process due to the arrangement called as thallus. The plant body is thallus. Then next one is gametophyte giving rise to sporophyte, and sporophyte giving rise to gametophyte. Sporophyte is always diploid, gametophyte is always haploid. Sporophyte gives rise to gametophyte. Gametophyte produces gametes, male gametes and female gametes. Male gametes, female gametes fuse. Once they fuse, the zygote will develop into sporophyte. This sporophyte produces number of spores. This spores gives rise to gametophyte. Gametophyte giving rise to sporophyte and sporophyte giving rise to gametophyte. These 2 points are very, very important from this chapter.